Welcome, everyone. Look, let's just be honest for a second. The student loan repayment clock? Yeah, it's pretty much the worst graduation present ever. It hangs over millions of heads, but it's rarely explained clearly. But think of this explainer as your vital blueprint. We're going to cut right through the noise, demystify the actual mechanics of this debt, and help you find your optimal financial path forward. Let's conquer that financial anxiety together, all right?
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. The repayment clock, the 4 federal plans, a scenario we call Jordan's Dilemma, the rules for pausing payments, and we'll wrap up with a massive private loan warning.
Section 1. The repayment clock starts when you actually have to pay.
So the cap and gown are packed away in a closet. The celebrations are officially in the rear-view mirror. What actually happens when that loan clock starts ticking? Well, the reality of the system is that the moment you graduate, or actually even if you just drop below half-time enrollment, you trigger the beginning of your repayment obligations. The machine basically wakes up and expects you to be ready.
But wait, there is a buffer built into the system. Thank goodness, right? After graduation day, you typically get a 6-month grace period for federal loans. Think of this as your breathing room. It's designed to give you some time to get your financial house in order, land a job, and figure out your monthly budget. But by month 7, that grace period is completely over and your very first payment is officially due.
Moving right along to Section 2, 4 Federal Repayment Plans. Basically, your repayment toolkit.
Now, the great news here is that federal loans offer a highly flexible menu of repayment options that private loans just absolutely do not provide. The first tool in your kit is the standard repayment plan. This is the default setting. If you do nothing, you end up right here. Under this plan, you make fixed monthly payments for up to 10 years, and because you're paying the principal down so aggressively, this plan minimizes the total interest you pay over the life of the loan. It's the fastest and the cheapest route overall. But and it's a big caveat, those fixed payments might be pretty tough to handle on an entry-level starting salary, unless you plan on eating nothing but instant ramen for the next 3 years.
So, if that starting payment is just way too high, you might want to look at the graduated repayment plan. This is still a 10-year schedule, but instead of fixed payments, your payments start out lower and then step up every 2 years. It's specifically designed for borrowers who expect their income to rise steadily as their career takes off. While those early payments are much easier to swallow, you have to remember that you will pay more total interest compared to the standard plan. Why? Simply because interest is heavily accruing while your early payments are kept low.
Next up, we have Income-Driven Repayment, or IDR. This completely flips the script. Instead of basing your payment on your total loan balance, these plans cap your monthly payment as a percentage of your discretionary income. Roughly speaking, that means your income above 150% of the federal poverty line. The core logic here is highly protective. If you earn less, you pay less. Plus, after 20 to 25 years of qualifying payments, any remaining balance may actually be forgiven. Just be aware that current policies frequently dictate that those forgiven balances might be taxable as income, so always verify the latest rules.
And the 4th federal option is Public Service Loan Forgiveness, or PSLF. Guys, this is a total game changer, specifically designed for public service careers. We're talking teachers, nurses, social workers, or government employees. If you work full-time for a qualifying employer and make exactly 120 qualifying payments, which is 10 years, under an IDR plan, the entire remaining balance is forgiven. And the absolute best part? This specific type of forgiveness is entirely tax-free.
And this brilliantly illustrates a fundamental trade-off you have to make. On one hand, you can choose the standard plan for the fastest payoff and the lowest total interest, but it demands the highest monthly payment right now. On the other hand, you can choose an IDR plan for immediate, day-to-day affordability based on your income, but you have to accept a slower payoff and the highest total interest over time. It's literally a choice between overall speed and lowest cost versus manageable, day-to-day survival. Section 3. Real-World, Jordan's Dilemma. Let's look at a real-world case. Abstract concepts are great, but we're going to look at a concrete case study to show exactly how these formulas impact a real human being. Meet Jordan. Jordan has just graduated with $30,000 in federal student loans sitting at a 5.5% APR. Jordan's starting a brand new job with a $38,000 annual salary. Sound familiar? This starting salary and debt load represent a highly relatable, extremely common scenario for so many recent grads. So what should Jordan do?
Now, what's really interesting about this is how we can walk through Jordan's 3 distinct paths, proving that career trajectory totally dictates the best financial choice. If Jordan chooses the standard 10-year plan, the monthly payment is a steep $325. That is a massive hit on a $38,000 salary, even though it smartly limits total interest to about $9,000. Now, under an IDR plan, the payment beautifully drops to between $150 and $200 a month initially. So much easier to breathe, right? But over 20+ years, the total cost is going to be significantly higher. Finally, PSLF. If Jordan's employer happens to be a qualifying nonprofit, Jordan can pay that low, affordable IDR rate for exactly 10 years, and boom, the rest is forgiven.
Just how much is forgiven? Over $20,000. No way, right? But that is the massive impact of PSLF. Careful planning could yield over $20,000 in tax-free forgiveness for someone in Jordan's exact scenario. The total cost of the loan would literally only be what was actually paid over those first 10 years. That is exactly why choosing the right plan is absolutely vital.
Okay, Section 4, Pausing Payments, the rules. Let's talk about the rules for tough times.
Look, we all know life happens. Financial hardship can strike absolutely anyone. The federal system has built-in mechanisms to legally pause your payments, but it's crucial to clearly contrast these two distinct options. First, we have deferment. This allows you to temporarily stop payments if you're enrolled in school, experiencing unemployment, or facing economic hardship. The amazing thing about deferment is that for subsidized loans, the interest might actually pause. On the flip side, we have forbearance, and there is a major trap here. Interest always continues to accrue. Your balance will literally grow while you aren't paying. Because of that ever-growing interest, forbearance is a gray area that should be used very, very sparingly.
Which brings us to Section 5, the private loan warning. We need to talk about some irreversible dangers.
We need to shift to a serious tone for a second. Private lenders lock you into rigid contracts. Full stop. If you borrow through a private lender, you have no income-driven repayment plans, you have no access to public service loan forgiveness, and you have no federal deferment protections. If you lose your job, private lenders offer very limited options compared to federal programs. You must always exhaust your federal loan options first.
So the crucial point I want you to remember is this. Refinancing federal loans into a private loan to score a slightly lower interest rate is incredibly tempting. But once you do it, you permanently lose all federal protections, all IDR options, and all PSLF eligibility. Refinancing away from the government is a permanent one-way street. You cannot undo it.
Let's wrap this explainer up with an actionable blueprint you can take with you right now. Here is your money tips summary. First, choose the standard plan if you can afford it. It is almost always the financially optimal choice for the lowest total interest. Second, use an IDR plan only if those standard payments are genuinely unaffordable on your current income. Third, if you work in public service, you must pursue PSLF. It is extraordinarily valuable. And fourth, never, ever blindly refinance federal loans into private ones without understanding exactly what you are giving up. I know the rules seem like a giant puzzle, but understanding them puts the power right back in your hands. We've shown you the paths, the pitfalls, and the strategies to master your debt. Your repayment clock is ticking, so will you let the system dictate your path, or will you take control today? Take a look at your latest pay stub, look up your loan servicer, and start building your blueprint. Thanks for joining us on this explainer.